LeiLani Quiray, welcome to the conversation today.
Thank you for having me.
It's a pleasure to be with you. You're joining us from New York. I'm south of Salt Lake City in Utah. Today, we're going to be talking about how to start making a bigger impact with your business. So that involves social impact initiatives, social enterprise, social entrepreneurship, corporate social responsibility. We'll be talking about these various concepts and topics as they relate to making a bigger meaningful impact with your organization. As we get started, I wanted to share LeiLani's bio with everybody. LeiLani is the founder and CEO of Be the Change HR Inc., a social impact business providing HR support for small to medium-sized businesses nationwide in any facet of HR, from pre-hire to post-term and everything else that happens in between. She and her team also teach free job readiness courses and provide free coaching to trafficking survivors and those transitioning out of homelessness. 2% of the top line revenue at the Be the Change HR is dedicated to the job readiness program. Her team is not only HR pros, they are life changers. And she believes in the concept of be the change you wish to see in the world. I totally agree. I love that quote. And I love everything about what you're doing. Anything else you would like to share with me or my listeners by way of your background before we dive on further?
No, I mean, I hear the quote and there's a little mini story of how I came to the company's name, Be the Change HR. When I was trying to figure out like, what do I name this like social impact business? I realized I have that quote tattooed on my back. So sometimes when I hear it, sometimes I forget I have it there. Sometimes when I hear it, I'm like, oh yeah, that's where it came from. And I always want to be specific. It's be the change you wish to see in the world is what I have tattooed on my back, not Be the Change HR. I did not tattoo my company name on me. Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty funny. Of course, you can tattoo whatever you want, and if that's the name of your company, that's great. But that's a great quote. Is that a Mandela quote, or is that one of those that was attributed to Mandela?
It was attributed to Gandhi, but even Gandhi. That, if you do the research, he didn't actually say that. So, okay. But it's a beautiful, it's a beautiful kind of way to look at the world. And it's how I came about with our company name, Be the Change HR.
Yeah. Love it. Regardless of who said it, it's a great concept.
Yes, it is.
All right. So let's dive on in and maybe define a few things for you. What the term social impact, social enterprise, what do those mean to you? And how do you go about trying to increase the impact of your business through this social impact, social enterprise kind of framing?
Yes. So when I started the business, I really didn't know what that was. I just knew I wanted to do HR and philanthropy under one roof. One of my favorite books is Conscious Capitalism. And so this idea of you have a for-profit business, and one of the drivers, if not the main driver of that business, is to make an impact in the world. And through me building my business came the education of what that really meant. And then the pain points of figuring out how do you make that happen within a for-profit business. But it's for me, the idea that, when we have a healthy, profitable business, it is something that we should do in order to make a change around the world, whether it be something big or small, right? And I think this concept is becoming more and more popular as we go along. And there's things where you can certify B Corp and all this. But it is the idea that, and for me personally, the idea that the more successful a business is, the more healthy it is, the more money it makes, the more impact it can have around the world.
Yeah. And as much as we want to focus on the impact piece, like you said, there has to be a sustainable, healthy business model in place. Otherwise, you don't keep your doors open, you don't make payroll, you don't provide the products and services, you don't add value to the market, and you don't make the impact that you want to make. So there's always that balance. And within a capitalistic system, and there's plenty of people out there critiquing a capitalistic system, that's fine. That's a great conversation to have, but that's the system we're in. And so within that system, you still have to function. And so that means, you have to be profitable. Okay. So then the question is, assuming we can do that, and that's hard to do, but let's assume we're able to do that. let's now think about how we can tack on and integrate throughout the business a bigger societal meaning and purpose. And one of the things I really like about this approach is not only is it good business sense, because it's good for PR, it's good for customer loyalty and retention, those sorts of things, which all can impact the bottom line. But you're also actually making a meaningful difference in the world related to whatever the core issues are that you're trying to address. And consumers these days are hungry for this. They want to buy products and services and patronize organizations that they believe are good stewards of the world and are making an impact. And especially younger people, I think everyone wants that, but especially younger people, they're demanding it. Otherwise, they're not going to your business. And so if you want to attract and retain good customer base, you need to be doing this. If you want to attract and retain good employees so you can provide the products and services and innovate in this space, you're going to need to do this. All of it not only makes a good, positive impact in the world, but it also can strengthen the positive bottom line of your organization.
Yeah, it is so true. And back to what you said about having the organization be healthy. We're not running a nonprofit, right? This business has to be very healthy, in fact, in order to have this social impact piece. And so through all my fumbles of building this social impact business, we started figuring out like, what are the KPIs and what numbers do we need to hit to stay healthy as a business, right? A gross profit percentage or net profit percentage. And what number, like what's the magic number for us in order to make that impact to measure against? And so what we've landed on through looking at the numbers, organizational health, making sure that we're continually growing, that the people who work here are taken very well care of as well, right? That's super important. 2%. So the number we landed on, 2% of our top line revenue goes to our job readiness program. And so what is that 2%? That's the labor cost within this organization that drives the job readiness classes. We do one-on-one coaching. We offer it to the nonprofits for free, of course, but internally in this organization, it costs money. It's not, the people here aren't volunteering their time. They're paid their exact same rate to teach these classes and do this coaching. And if you can imagine where it is a perfect melding is, HR professionals are like the perfect people to teach you what not to do on a resume and how to write a resume and how to interview and the ins and outs of an applicant tracking system. And then what we do is we take it one step further and trauma inform train everyone here, and vicarious trauma training happens. And then we also send everybody through a certificate to be able to identify and how to respond if you do see someone who you might think is being trafficked. And so all of that goes into this business model of how do you make this work. Now, I do want to talk a little bit about we have a social impact business and that's great for us. But maybe that's not what a business is called to do. And so you could do this corporate social responsibility and really weave it into something that is on brand for a company, right? If you have, a business that is in the action sports industry and maybe it's in surf, then beach cleanups or something that helps with the ocean's sustainable health and all of that. And so you can work it into the brand and have it be part of something that you do once a year, that you do once a month, or somehow you find a way for the business to support that piece. And it doesn't have to be everything you do, right? It can be small incremental steps to start.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, I think it's about integration. So finding meaningful ways to integrate your social impact mission, your corporate social responsibility mission, triple bottom line, stakeholder capitalism, whatever framing you want to be using, to find ways to integrate that in, and then provide opportunities and flexibility to, allow your people to be engaged in those things. I referred to it a few minutes ago, but just like younger millennial and Gen Z people, as consumers, want to patronize organizations that have some sort of a corporate social responsibility, social impact mission, kind of the ESG approach. they also want to work for those types of organizations, and they want their work to matter. They want meaning and purpose in what they're doing. They want to know that they're improving the world in some way. And sometimes that's super clear cut. Like you will go work for a XYZ organization, their whole mission statement and values are all around whatever, and it's super crystal clear. But other times you're like in a manufacturing plant or, you know, whatever. And does that mean you can't have a social mission there too? I think that's absolutely not the case. I think you absolutely can. And it's about how you communicate that with your people, and then providing opportunities for your people to engage. And in some cases, like you said, it's taking a yearly or quarterly or, you know, whatever beach cleanup day, or some organizations are simply giving their people, you know, one day a month or one day a quarter to go out and go volunteer anywhere and just come back and share what you did, you know, and go to a soup kitchen, go to a homeless shelter, go to a crisis hotline and help out, or whatever, like whatever your thing is that you feel passionate about, go be engaged in that. And just providing a little bit of flexibility for your people to engage in that outside of their normal work life, it can actually be super powerful, even if your organization itself doesn't necessarily have as close of a tie to that in what it's trying to accomplish.
Yep. That's definitely a great way to do it. Just starting out small with X amount of hours of volunteer pay per year. Or there's great organizations like the United Way that let an employee choose where the tax deductible donation that comes out of their paycheck goes, or into a general fund for the area, but it will impact the local area, which is also really important. Yeah.
Yep, absolutely. So I've already referred to it a little bit, but how can we leverage this kind of messaging? Not, you know, and I don't want to be cynical about this, and I want us to do something that actually is meaningful, but we have to be able to communicate it too, and we have to tell stories about what we're doing. And so the messaging behind all of this, hopefully it's not just messaging, hopefully there's actually substantive efforts that we're making, and we're actually making a real impact. But how do we go about effectively messaging this, you know, in terms of our employer brand, our employer experience? If we're trying to attract and retain really great talent, how do we set ourselves apart as an employer of choice with a social mission, so that people want to come and work for us? Thoughts on that?
Yeah. You know, if a company doesn't have it like set up yet, I think it could be really exciting to delve into. And again, we talked about a little bit about this. What is our brand? What makes sense for us? Right? What aligns with our core values, and get to play in that sandbox a little bit of like, what could we support locally? Like, what you even involve the employees and the staff, like what is everyone passionate about? Maybe you stumble across a kid's, a foster home in the area, or a shelter that you can work with, and just start there. And then build from there. You're going to have the perfect program overnight, right? But you play around with it and see what works. And then once you start hitting a groove, start weaving it into everything that you do. So the biggest thing is, when you have a candidate who, and everybody does this now, when you have a candidate that they're going to search your company, make sure that you have it on the website and in your socials, and say, okay, one time a month, we're going to talk about this on our socials, the impact that we make, or the nonprofit that we support. You'll have a section on your website about how you make a difference in the world. And so for organizations that are starting out, those are really easy places to start. So someone can go on and have a point where they can connect with you as well, if it's in a nonprofit that they're passionate about as well, just to show that the company cares, right? If you have a social impact business like mine, it was so hard for me, I have to tell you, like so hard for me to not make it an afterthought. I think a lot of times when we start businesses that are like mine, we do it from an altruistic sense. I didn't start this social impact business because I, wanted to look attractive in a marketing, in a marketing sense. And I didn't do it because I thought, I'm going to hire the best employees because of the great stuff we do. It just naturally happens when you build an organization like this. And then what you have to teach yourself to do is you weave it into everything, because everyone should know that this business is built to make a difference. And so even in our tagline, when I was going over, like, how are we going to do this? So it was like, someone was like, we are HR consultants, we are change makers. And I was like, we will not use corporate jargon in the tagline. And so I wanted something that was sort of like, it just like, what did you just say? Like, are you serious? You know, so it's, we are HR consultants, we are life changers. And so a little bit of that is like, what do you mean by that? So one of our pieces on our website will explain exactly how we do that. Anytime, you know, we're in a sales pitch, it's no longer an afterthought. It becomes up in the very beginning, right? And I've had to train myself to do this, and I've had to train my staff to do this. And so it's just everything that you do, all your marketing, every time you talk, in your tagline, it needs to be there front and center, because it's what the business does. It makes a difference in the world.
Yeah, and I would say regardless of whether you're a social enterprise, social impact organization or not, every organization needs to be very clear about their mission, right? Their vision and their driving values. And they need to be able to communicate that very succinctly, clearly, effectively, and they need to integrate it into all aspects of their business. So what you're describing is exactly the same thing. You're just describing it from a lens of, okay, for us, our mission is partially a social impact mission. For us, you know, our values dictate that we're going to be changing lives, that we're going to be helping trauma survivors, that we're going to be, you know, doing these different things. And so then, yeah, just like it would for any organization, for any mission, values, vision, you need to work at integrating that in. So it's not just lip service that you're giving. It's not just stuff that's on the website or stuff that's on a banner on the wall, but everyone comes in from the recruitment, the early stage of recruitment through the whole recruitment funnel to hiring, onboarding, performance management, ongoing training and development, all of it, right? It has to be embedded into all of it. And when we can start to do that, then we build a culture, and we build a culture around social impact and social enterprise. And one of the things I really love about what you're doing is you're taking, you know, a business that there's lots of HR service providers out there that do similar things to what you're trying to do from just a HR perspective, but you're a good example of how any organization that provides a product and service to the market in any sort of traditional way can think thoughtfully about this and integrate social impact, corporate social responsibility, social enterprise elements into what they're doing. So that's exactly what you've done. You've taken a business that otherwise could be probably a really successful business, providing great services from an HR framing and all those skills, but you've embedded this social enterprise component into it, and that's meaningful. And so let's be thoughtful about how we go about doing this. If you're anyone who's watching or listening, if you're working in an organization and you're like, oh, we don't really have any of this, it would be nice, we just don't have it. Okay, get some decision makers, some strategic thinkers around a table and start having a conversation, and then spread those conversations out throughout the organization and listen to your people, listen to what matters to them, listen to what they want to focus on. And I bet you'll learn something, and you'll learn how you can start this process yourself. And then that just, like we said earlier, there's a human case for this. There's, you know, bettering the world, bettering the lives of people around you, but there's also a strong business case for it. The reality is companies perform better when they have a strong social impact mission. You have to be healthy in other ways. So it can't be all about altruism, but when you balance the altruism and the intentionality and the purpose with a solid business model that's sustainable, then the sky's the limit on what you can accomplish. And I think it's just incredible. And there's so much need in the world. There's so many really complex, challenging issues. You mentioned, and I kind of referred to it a minute ago, but you do a lot in just helping around the skills related to helping trauma survivors. That's pretty unique, but that's a really important need that's out there. And so whatever the issue is, let's find a way to participate, be part of the civic experiment to try to make the world a better place. I love it, everything about it, and I just really appreciate all that you're doing. Thank you. LeiLani, this has just been a lot of fun. I know at the time I'm going to have to let you go here in a few minutes, but before we wrap things up for today, I wanted to give you a chance to share with listeners how they can connect with you, find out more about your work, your business, and then give us the final word on the topic for today.
Yeah. So we are on all the social media channels at be the change HR. And you're more than welcome to connect with me on LinkedIn. I will spell my name for you. My name LeiLani, LeiLani, last name Quiray, Quiray. Connect with me and drop me a note.
Perfect. Perfect. And again, I would encourage listeners, viewers to really be thoughtful about this, to take the time to figure out what you can do. Just like we're trying to embed diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging throughout every aspect of every organization. I'm a strong believer that we should be doing the same thing with social impact, that we can embed it and integrate it throughout all aspects of the organization. And ultimately, it's just going to make everything better, more positive, and we'll just collectively, we can make the world a better place. I believe that.
Yeah.
And that's what I hope we can all do. Well, thank you, LeiLani. I encourage my audience to reach out, get connected, find out more about what LeiLani and her team can do for you. And as always, I hope everyone can stay healthy and safe, that you can find meaning and purpose at work each and every day. And I hope you all have a great